Oh, so I just want to do like a fun fact off the record. So that Fabius guy, because he was
on
like
the
winning.
record, just for the record.
So,
All right, yeah, just a quiet wow.
Part 2. Nothing wrong with a quiet wow. I feel like your threshold for success is so high, Piers.
No.
Commonwealth, the former empire, now Commonwealth. Is it relevant? Probably not. But why not give this part a shot? Stay tuned. Here comes Uncommonwealth, the podcast.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Solomon Islands, where one of our oldest listeners, Carmen, is from.
Oldest, not oldest as in age. Just
no,
she'll be offended.
No. We'd like to make that
turning 7 next week.
Oh no, Piers is frozen.
Oh, Piers! No,
he started his segment.
No. Oh, you're fine now.
You're back. You're back.
All right,
you're back.
The Solomon Islands they're a sovereign state. They consist of 6 major islands, over 900 smaller islands in Oceania, near Papua New Guinea and Vanuatu to the northwest. It covers a land area of 28,000 square kilometers or 11,000 square miles, so it's just larger than Maryland.
That's tiny. Yeah, tiny.
Has a population of 652,000, mainly, populated on the central island near its capital, Honaria. It's located on the island of Guadalcanal. It was originally settled in 30,000 BC. That was when the first people showed up there, or that we have record of. In 1568, the Spanish took it over. It's when people were on ships going around claiming things.
Just mine. Just, like the seagulls from Finding Nemo.
Beating up the local islanders who had no idea what was going on.
Yep.
And then a few years later, the English came over and said, mine. And in 1978, after being a member of the Commonwealth, although they remain a member of the Commonwealth, they gained their formal independence, and they changed their names from the Solomon Islands to what was it before? Solomon. Can we edit this?
Yeah, we can. They're not called the Solomon Islands anymore?
No, they changed it from something else to the Solomon Islands.
Okay.
Yes. I can't. So they're not. They changed the name to the Solomon Islands. I can't see what it was originally. Oh, they were originally known as the Solomons under the English Protectorate. So
they added the word islands.
Yes.
That was worth the wait.
All right. I just like to poison the editing room to be kind to me on that one.
Now we can't edit out the whole delay.
It was such a build-up as well. We're like, this must have been some highly offensive name that they couldn't have kept.
See, this is the response to wallpaper Beethoven. This is what you expected.
This is...
All right. Let me get to the reason I'm talking about the Solomon Islands. So very recently, they declared...
Piers, I love that your intro is like you run through the stats of like the square footage, the population density, like all these crazy facts, and then you're like, a guy from Gladiator died in a bar by fighting sailors after a drinking contest.
Wait, which island was that?
That was
Malta.
That was in Malta.
Yeah, Malta.
Okay, so in the Solomon Islands in 2020, the government has declared that they're going to ban Facebook throughout the country. It's going to be made illegal to log into Facebook. And that's tough for the locals because Facebook Messenger has been a very important thing for, them communicating with the outside world because there's no fees. With WhatsApp, it doesn't cost them anything to call and communicate with the outside world. But they claimed that it was because of cyberbullying and online defamation. So they're basically saying they're, making Facebook illegal to protect their inhabitants from being, people online treating them horribly or other such nefarious deeds that go on Facebook.
But
fake news being spread.
You're being bullied as in people outside of the Solomon Islands are bullying Solomon Islanders, or are you just saying, as in, like, when you're in school, kids get bullied on like cyberbullying?
So the government claims that people are getting bullied on. No,
Yeah.
it wasn't people online calling them the Solomons or something.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
But it's so they claim that's what it is, but it's actually like a China thing. They're just like clamping down on.
Funny you should say a China thing.
It
Documents-
is funny.
That's what I order at Chinese restaurants. I'm just like, I'll have the China thing, please.
I'll have one drug
One
and
China
one
unit.
China.
One
dinner.
unit of China thing.
So
Sorry,
some
Piers.
documents leaked at the beginning of the year on Facebook. They were
Ironic.
email exchanges between the president of the Solomon Islands and a Chinese intermediary.
What?
Ooh, that's not a good look.
Someone
Piercer
was,
for the Chinese intermediary.
someone was lobbying.
You froze.
They were discussing
You froze
151.
again.
They were discussing $151 billion loan from a Chinese businessman, an amount that is almost 77 times the Pacific nation's gross domestic product.
Wow.
Wait, alone. Wait, going which way?
From China to the Solomon Islands for COVID relief. And the intermediary, the guy who was proposing the deal, was saying that he would get a 11% brokerage fee,
Oh my
Oh.
god!
which amounted to $11
I can do
billion
math.
dollars.
Oh, I was gonna say.
And the president was admitted that the exchanges had happened, but he was annoyed that they'd been leaked and put on trial by the media before an agreement could have been made.
Damn.
But
Wait,
then
did it
shortly
explicit-
after that came the Facebook ban.
Did
which,
it explicitly say, like, was it leaked that they had to ban Facebook to get the loan?
No, it was just leaked on Facebook, I
Speculative,
think,
I
which was
guess.
and now it's become he couldn't
So
trust.
you think
Facebook.
it was a vindictive thing, like because you leaked this, we're gonna
That's
shut
what
you down?
everyone believes, is because basically he couldn't handle
The businessman.
The truth.
No, the president he couldn't handle the memes. And the,
You can't handle the truth.
Gath, just quoting a few good men over here.
was that your Jack
I
Nicholson?
didn't know where that
Was that your Jack Nicholson? No,
That was your Jack
her
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson would be, if you were good, the truth.
You can't handle the truth. That's all I can.
You can handle. That's her Nicholson.
You need to be on that wall. That was more like the Count from Sesame
Okay.
Street.
So wait.
So the news comes 5 months after the Solomon Islands switched its diplomatic allegiance to China and severed ties with Taiwan, which was initially which was previously its main diplomatic partner. And China and
That's pretty
Taiwan,
crazy,
as
though.
our listeners know, do not get along.
Wait, so I'm kind of a little confused. So then they're shutting down Facebook. Why?
Because the president didn't like that the news was leaked from basically, which showed him being coerced by Chinese businessmen into giving up way more than they could ever repay.
So that's like akin to like Trump kicking the CNN reporter out of the briefing room
Yeah.
because he
Exactly.
didn't like what he said or something.
Exactly.
Do you know how the Solomon Islanders
Or-
were they cool with it, or are they like, hey, give me my Facebook back?
The Solomon Islanders do not like it at all
Yeah.
because it's a way for them. It's a freedom. They can share news
for
like
sure.
this.
This is sticking. Like there's no Facebook there.
There's no Facebook there.
Are you changing your
So there's
vacation
no-
plans or what's
I know Carmen. If you haven't heard from Carmen in a while, it's not.
So there's no
personal.
Instagram
That's why she
either.
hasn't accepted my Facebook friend request.
But then there's no Instagram because
No.
Facebook owns Instagram.
Yeah.
How can you do
What
that?
are you doing in the Solomon Islands without Instagram? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, what's the point of going if you can't immediately send those selfies out?
No kidding.
That's really crazy.
Carmen, we hope you're all right without your
That's a big deal,
Instagram.
guys.
Yeah.
That's that whole thing.
because
It's-
they can't follow the pod. How many viewers did we lose? How many listeners?
All
One.
of them.
Calvin.
Yeah, one and all of them.
Oh.
As long as
Okay.
your dad is listening, Catherine, that's all that matters.
Alrighty, Piers, you're good?
Still no.
We're good?
Still,
You
hard
good?
no.
Yeah, I'm good.
You done? Okay.
That was great. So,
That
was
was
cool.
very interesting. The Solomons.
All
But
right.
but that's the title of the episode, the Solomons, I think. Okay.
That's what we'll all take from that segment.
It sounds like the house you don't want to go to for like every Christmas. You got to go have like to the party at the Solomons.
Christmas
Oh, we
with
got
the
to go to the
Solomons.
Solomons.
Oh shit! No,
It wasn't he a king from the Bible?
They serve that
That
terrible
thing?
bread pudding.
we go every
Solomons.
year.
The Solomons.
Solomons. They
Oh,
sound
yeah.
like they sound like they have terrible bread pudding.
Yes.
Okay, Jimmy.
The podcast.
So for my segment this week, Piers, you made me think of this a couple of weeks ago, actually, when we were talking about Malta. You mentioned that when Napoleon turned up to Malta, they just instantly surrendered. They were like, no, you can take over, no worries. So that was like a funny thing we joked about, but I actually like looked into it. It turns out that was actually the battle strategy. That was the whole military plan of the Allies when they were fighting against Napoleon in the war.
So wait,
What?
Jimmy, is your segment to take Pierce's segment and try to do a better job of it? Is that what's happening right now? No.
Just ambulance chasing my segment.
You dropped a fun little fact there, and it can be expanded upon. So
Oh my-
Sounds like most of my segments.
in the war, so there was Austria, Prussia, Russia, United Kingdom, Portugal, Sweden, Spain, and some German states. They were called the Allies. So when they were fighting against Napoleon, and I also hadn't realized Napoleon is considered like the greatest military commander ever. I hadn't realized just how good he was.
By whom?
By the internet.
Okay.
One of the great.
Okay. No, that's totally.
So my point is, I hadn't realized just how like insane and feared he was as a military commander. So what this is, it was called the Trachenberg Plan, that these group of allied countries and states came up. It was basically during the war with Napoleon, their strategy was if they were ever on the battlefield and Napoleon was there, if he was physically commanding, they would just bail. They'd run. They wouldn't even engage. They would only fight if it was like one of his underlings, like if there was one of his generals or commanders. They would
play the backup QBs in the game.
Yeah, they'd only ever fight. That was their whole strategy. They they got together, they spoke about it. They were like, that's the plan, because Napoleon was that good. And this happened after they had a few like just crushing defeats against Napoleon. And Napoleon will rock up like outnumbered with, he doesn't have the high ground, and he still just destroys everyone. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Napoleon would rock up. Can we just enjoy that?
Crazy. The electric guitar is blazing in the background.
Have you been watching Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure?
Yeah.
But so that was the plan, and the thing is, it worked. That they would fight against these lesser
Wow.
abled commanders, and
I
then
love
over
this.
time
The COVID Denver Broncos.
so over time they just essentially they built up over a number of years an overwhelming numerical advantage, because they'd fight against these the
That's
backup.
incredible. That's so cool.
So that strategy in itself is based on an earlier strategy, which is called the Fabian strategy. So it's basically this whole you fight a war of attrition, and it comes from an old Roman emperor or dictator, I think, back in this time. It was Quintus Fabius Maximus Verrucius. He was the guy charged with fighting Hannibal, the Carthaginian emperor who invaded southern Italy. So similar thing. Hannibal was like the greatest commander of the time. No one could beat him. He was just winning in these overwhelming battles. So this guy Quintus, his strategy was just run and hide, like pick little battles, and it worked well. But Rome were like they were like embarrassed that he wouldn't take a big fight. So they pulled him. They pulled the QB, put him the backup, and then Hannibal just destroyed the Roman army or the Italian army, completely lost. And they were like, okay, we made a mistake. Put Quintus back in.
Wow.
And so Quintus, being kind of like a coward, was actually the smarter strategy.
Yeah. He earned a nickname which was called the Delayer, because he would legit just like refuse to like fight Hannibal. He would just kind of
defer.
Yeah, like his strategy was like Hannibal would send out hunters to go like shoot some deers or something like that, and then Quintus would be like, attack the hunters. Like that was his game plan.
Rich people do that with taxes. They just defer.
Yeah, but
They kill the hunters.
No? Okay.
No.
That's
But yeah,
fascinating.
The Trachenberg plan, so never fight Napoleon. That was the official military
Wow.
strategy. They would legit, if he rocked up, so to speak, they would just be
And
like, retreat.
You know, Napoleon was A, hoarding all of the best fighters, and B, the people that were fighting for him had him behind them, so they were obviously more fired up than.
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
I think that was one of the, it was
Right.
someone in England, maybe Piers, they were saying that Napoleon was worth 10,000 men. Just his presence on the field would be so inspirational to all the
Right.
troops that
Oh,
was his
that's a great
value.
quote.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even
And-
though he was short.
Oh, that's another thing. So
Everyone
he
was short back then.
he was
No,
average,
but they said he was middle. He was average height.
I didn't actually know this. So at that
really?
point in time, the units of measurement, the French units of measurement were different than. So the inch in the French inch was longer than the English inch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just
So
describing
what
this wrong.
was he in
He
today's
was like
units?
5'10".
He was 5. Yeah. I think he was like
No.
5. He was 5'6", but at that point in time, that was average. He was
Average.
equivalent of like
Wow.
5'10".
Wait,
So
because
he-
I've been measuring myself in French inches. So what you're saying is,
I'm actually 6'2".
Oh, you've got a new tag for that joke.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about height.
Jimmy, are you
French
5'6"?
Canadian inches.
I'm 5'6". Yeah. I'm 5'6"
Well,
in
what if-
modern inches though.
Modern inches.
But that's
Oh, wait.
that's no longer average.
But I
height.
thought
That
you
is
said
below
Napoleon
average.
was 5'6".
Napoleon,
in modern
no,
inches.
Napoleon was
We're getting bigger.
5'2" in French inches, and he
Okay.
was 5'6" in modern inches, which at the time was the average height of a man.
Yeah,
the
so he
average
was
height of a
your
man's
height.
now like 5'10". Yeah, Napoleon was as tall as I am, but I'm
Okay.
below average height.
I get it.
in
I get it.
2020, whereas in
This is what I care about. Okay.
But no,
Well,
the
that
whole
is
the whole
fascinating.
Napoleon is short thing was part of like the English propaganda. I didn't
It's
realize that.
It's interesting how
Yeah.
how
To discredit
Yeah.
and make him less. They made
Try
There's
and
been a
throw him
couple
off his
instances
game.
in history
throw him
where
off his
like
game, yeah.
the misinterpretation of numbers and scales have led to like erroneous conclusions. Like
Yeah.
for a long time, everyone thought Einstein failed out of school, but they didn't know that like the German system was like 1 was the best grade and 5 was the worst.
Oh, so he
And they
got
saw his
a bunch of
report
ones.
card had
No.
1s, and they thought he wasn't good at
No.
school. He was just
Oh
a
yeah,
smart.
he failed math. That was
Yeah,
the, that
no,
was
he
what
got
they,
the highest grade. Like it was.
That's what all the kids at school who sucked at math would say.
Napoleon also was considered because he was always around military commanders, and if you think about the people who are like that's predisposed to have probably a bigger, burlier man in these big.
What about the
military-
thing where he always had his hand in his shirt or whatever? What was that?
I don't know.
You know
It's
that?
a great, it's a
Like
great
bum
look.
hand.
Oh, it's a very
Bring it back.
powerful. I only need one arm to beat the shit out of you, kind of.
Maybe
thing.
he was just like scratching himself. He had an itchy chest at the time, and his royal painter just caught him mid itch.
Well, back then you don't know like what weird disease someone might have where they just lose the use of an arm or something. I don't know.
Because there was no photography.
Oh, so he was around during Trudeau Senior's time.
And Nixon's time and
Yeah.
all those.
Wow.
But anyway, so yeah,
Um,
that's the Trachenberg plan. Oh, so I just want to do like a fun
No,
fact
no,
off the record. So that Fabius guy, because he
You're
was
on
like
the record,
winning.
just for the
Okay.
record.
So he was so the Fabius guy was winning against Hannibal, but as I said, so the people didn't like his strategies because it wasn't like flashy and big battle, so they pulled him. The armies ended up being destroyed by Hannibal, so they put Fabius back in. So one of the towns that Hannibal had like taken over, Fabius won back, and the governor of the town wanted to like share the credit, so he like basically asked Fabius if he could share the credit for taking the town back over, and Fabius is famous for saying like, certainly, because if you hadn't lost it, I never would have been able to retake it.
Ah.
How good of a
Jimmy
okay.
seems very proud of that.
Piers, I feel your thing earlier about
Sure.
Beethoven in the
Beethoven
walls.
in the walls.
It's Beethoven in the walls
That's
all
another
over
good
again.
title. Beethoven in the walls.
That's it.
It's- That was the silence is deafening.
Why,
It's like when you write like a great new joke and you're like, this
Yeah.
is gonna kill, and then you
It's
say
gonna
it and they get nothing.
And everyone's like, that's a good setup. I hope the punchline's good. You're like,
No,
oh
no,
boy.
but I'm done. That was
That
it.
Like the Empire, we're almost done. We hope that you've had lots of fun. Was it relevant? Probably not. But thanks for giving this part a shot. Stay tuned for the end of Uncommonwealth, the podcast. Stay tuned for Uncommon Takes.
Because I think our theme should come from something interesting someone said in the previous episode.
That's cool.
I'll
Yeah.
send some ideas and you guys can tell me which one.
Yeah.
you
One
want.
idea just off the top of my head would be jokes that don't land.
I feel like we've got that covered just inherently.
Oh my God.
Uncommonwealth, the podcast.